Next, some important concepts in writing. And I've also indicated what writing concept each of these activities will work on. What is content? And this refers to the student's ideas and examples. So what they're actually saying. And you guys can give your students this language to talk about writing as well. And that can help them feel more confident talking about writing. You know, I'm worried about my content. It's a lot better than I'm worried about my writing. You know, it makes it more specific. Then you have organization. And this is the order of ideas and examples. Because we all know that when we start thinking about something, it doesn't just come out in this nice organized fashion that even we can understand. It comes out all jumbled up. And then we can organize it. So there might be some organization issues that students have as well. And this also includes using transition words between ideas. You know, and, but, or, however, furthermore, next, all that good stuff. And then you have, you know, sentence level stuff. Oops. Sentence structure. And this is how a sentence is built. And this is really where you're looking at the grammar and word choice and vocabulary. Now, what I found is that oftentimes students will have strong ideas. They have something good. They have a point of view that's interesting. But they have difficulty maybe coming up with specific examples or putting them in the right order or being able to express them clearly grammatically. And so when I'm commenting on a draft, first edition of students writing, I will often say, you know, you have strong ideas or your ideas are good. And that gives them a compliment, something to think about. You know, oh wow, I did something right. You know, and then I say, but, you know, you could use more specific examples, or you might want to reconsider some of this organization, or, you know, here are some grammatical errors. And so you start with something good, you end with something, and then you encourage them to revise. And so you get another copy. You can give students vocabulary like this. And with each activity, I also indicated some of the vocabulary that you would need to talk to your students about beforehand, so they know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how it will help them as well. Thesis statements, and see if they're similar or different. So would anybody be willing to share one of these? Any of them, sure. The one you like the best.
Okay. I think, in my opinion, the most important quality of is truthfulness. Because I think that truthfulness is the foundation of the all qualities.
Good.
If we see there is a good quality, very good quality, he is professional, but if he is not truthful, of course it's no point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If he see the money and that side,
Right.
Who brings lots of money if he treats them, it's not. I think like
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and I think what's really interesting is that you're proving another point. When you have a good thesis statement, which you had, it makes you think of the next thing, okay? Good examples. So you immediately, from there, you wanted to keep writing. You had a strong thesis statement, and you wanted to keep writing and keep thinking about the topic. And you came up with a really strong example. So that's another thing with this activity, is that it can lead into that next activity, and it gets the thought process really going. If you have a strong thesis statement, it keeps the student, or the writer, let's just say the writer, because it doesn't have to be a student, focused on that topic, instead of going off into many other directions. And it helps to encourage thoughts about the topic. Excellent. Good. Would somebody else like to share one?
Okay, great. If I could travel to a foreign country, I would go to the many countries, not only
just
one, not just one. For example, Italy, Turkey, India, Australia, Spain. You said because all countries, all other countries have many beautiful cultural places and their own chasters.
Yeah. Okay, great. And so, then, for examples, you may want to think of a couple to exemplify what you mean, and I think that's great too, is that this doesn't have to be a narrow, I have to choose a country, it can be, there are many countries I'd like to go to, and you gave a really, again, strong reasons, and so I think you'll be able to come up with great examples. And so that's the other thing, is that your writers will all come up with different interpretations and different answers to these, and so it can promote interesting discussion as well. Would someone else? One more?
Okay, I will share the problem in our city. I think the biggest problem in our city is the collecting in garbage, because we could not classify the garbage, and we could not collect exactly the places, because from of the bin, all the garbage is chewed out and everywhere it's scattered.
It doesn't stay in one place.
Wrong places. And we should learn how to collect in a right way. The people living in apartments, sometimes they chew out the garbage inside of the door and everywhere, where not so good.
And what's interesting about some of these questions too is that you have your idea, you have, again, this led to examples and descriptions, which is great, and also maybe it can lead to solutions, so some of these more serious problems, by writing, you're really exploring these different ideas, and your students will too. And so, again, these questions can be adapted to your specific classroom and the kinds of things that you want your students to be thinking about, whatever those might be. So, excellent. Very good.